Imagine you're building a house in a nice neighborhood, a house in an area where there's a lot of demand, and you're in the middle of building a house, right? And you have a partner, an investor. And while you're building the house, your investor starts complaining about the color of the toilet. What would you do? I mean, you would probably just tell him to go and take a hike, go home and let you finish the job, right? And that's how I feel now with certain stocks. Like, for example, I made a video about Voxter resolving the note receivable that people were complaining about. And now they are complaining, some are complaining about the 2 million discount. And I'm thinking, like, this is exactly like people complaining about the color of the toilet. Honestly, really? And so my message to you is just sell Voxter. Sell Voxter. Don't get involved in the stocks that I talk about. Just don't. Those kinds of stocks are simply not for you. Okay? And it doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you a stupid person. You might be stupid, but that alone doesn't make you stupid. Those stocks are not for you. Okay? If you react to every little thing like this the way some of you reacted, you just have a different mindset. You don't understand what you're getting yourself into when you invest in those smaller companies. They are not mature companies like Apple, Microsoft. They're just not. They are companies that are not mature yet. And if you want to use the analogy of a house, they are companies that are in the middle of building a house. They are not the companies that their house is already finished, ready, everything looks pretty, and it's ready for sale to retail. It's those companies are working towards a certain goal to get to that level at some point, but they are not at that level yet. So there is problems that come along the way, and it always takes longer than anticipated. It always costs more than anticipated. There's all these problems that come up that have to be solved. And those companies are all about solving those problems. But if you are going to complain every single time there is this problem or that problem, you're just not cut out to be invested in those companies, because you are the kind of investor that want to be invested in companies that already solved the problem. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's a different expectation, okay? And I am tired of dealing with people not understanding the difference, okay? Like few weeks ago, a few months ago, some guy on Twitter wrote something about Oracle, right? Like something about Mexico, this and that. And always people are like reading that nonsense. And then they're like, well, what do you think about this? If it was just me, I wouldn't even read this nonsense. But I have to read that nonsense because so many people, so many other people read this nonsense and they ask me about this nonsense. Okay, so then I look at it and I just roll my eyes. And then I talk to, let's say, somebody like Adam, and I'm like, Adam, did this person even have a conversation with you? Did this person call the management to ask about what this project is all about? Of course not. Why would they? It's a lot better to just, spew nonsense, spread fear, and put doubt into people's heads, right? Of course, they're not going to do due diligence. Why would they? That would make them more educated. Now, the same thing with Voxtra. Why would they pick up the phone? Why would like some guy on Twitter, Average Finance, why would he pick up the phone and call the management, ask questions? Why did you do certain thing like this or like that? Why would he do that? Well, because he knows better. He knows better. He already knows the answers to all of these things because he probably ran public companies like this, right? And he already knows the answers to this. But you see, this is what you're dealing with, right? People come out, they're afraid of their own shadow, okay? And then they get involved in these companies. They shouldn't ever be involved in these companies. And then they express their opinions, their fears on others. And so please, just don't get involved in those stocks because you will always get disappointed. You don't have the mentality, you don't have the stamina to handle those companies because problems come up and they have to be solved, okay? You see, companies that are developing, also another analogy that I like to use is that they're like the management teams are like matadors fighting in a bull ring, okay? Nothing is easy. It's difficult, it's dangerous, and then they go out there and then they try to win the battle. They get hurt along the way, and then there is these armchair CEOs in the audience commenting on how the management should do this, or that, where in reality they themselves never faced a bull in the ring. But they have all the answers. They think that they can come in to these companies, get a 10x, and get a limo ride with champagne to the moon, right? It's unrealistic, okay? So if you have a mindset like this, if in this case you are complaining about $2 million on notes receivable, you are not fit to be in those stocks. Now, when the press release on Voxtra was first released, the first text I got from somebody like Yazan, what do you think the text from him was? It was, finally, they got this resolved. Do you think somebody like Yazan was complaining about $2 million? Do you think somebody like Nick that I interviewed on this YouTube channel, do you think he was complaining about their $2 million? No, it's only the freaking losers who don't know and should never be involved in stocks like this that are complaining. Those are the people that are complaining. I don't want to have anything to do with people like this. I want to associate myself with people like Yazan, people like Nick, or people like Colin that understand what it takes to be successful in business. They understand that those businesses are there to solve problems, and while they're trying to solve problems and find solutions, they encounter more problems, and then they solve those problems with the best to their abilities. They understand this. If you have this kind of mindset, then you can be involved in companies like this. If you're going to complain about every little freaking thing, if you're going to read every little article and get freaked out about every little thing, please do not get involved in stocks like this. Unsubscribe from my YouTube channel because this is simply not for you. It's better for you to invest in index funds, in mature companies. This is where you will be able to sleep better, and maybe you can complain about other things in life other than stocks that you are not suited for.